I've heard people say that the quietest moments in life are the ones that change you forever. I never really understood that until the night I found out about Emily's affair. She was the last person I ever expected to betray me. Emily, soft-spoken, sharp-minded, the kind of woman who remembered every detail about the people she loved. I thought I knew her heart better than I knew my own. Turns out I didn't. My name is Connor Hayes, 32 years old at the time, working as a systems analyst, living a steady, ordinary life I was grateful for. Emily and I have been together 5 years. We weren't married, but we were committed in every way that mattered. We talked about buying a house, about a dog, about maybe someday a family. She wasn't perfect, no one is, but she was mine, and I loved her with the kind of loyalty that didn't have conditions. The night everything broke was painfully normal. She said she was working late. I believed her without hesitation. That's who I was with her, trusting to a fault. I made dinner. I folded laundry. I watched a documentary I wasn't really paying attention to. At around 11, her tablet buzzed on the counter. She'd forgotten it that morning, something she rarely did. I swear I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't snooping. The screen simply lit up with a preview of a message. Can't stop thinking about last night. You're incredible. And beneath it, a name I'd never seen, Eric Pierce. For a few seconds I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The world didn't crash around me the way movies show Heartbreak. It just quieted. Everything inside me went still, the way a lake goes still right before a storm. I opened the message thread. I wish I hadn't, but I did. Their conversations went back months. Late-night plans, inside jokes, confessions, moments that used to belong to me now lived in bubbles of text between Emily and a stranger. My hands were shaking, but not from anger. It was disbelief. This thin, fragile disbelief that refused to accept what my eyes were reading. When Emily walked through the door an hour later, smiling tiredly, something inside me detached from the moment. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her. I didn't break anything or demand explanations. I just felt the quiet settle deeper, filling every corner of me until it felt like I wasn't even standing in my own life anymore. She kissed my cheek and said, "Hey, Con, sorry I'm late." I nodded. That was all, just a nod. That night, while she slept peacefully, effortlessly, I packed a single suitcase. Clothes, documents, my grandfather's watch. I left my keys on the counter. I didn't leave a note. I didn't need to. She'd know eventually. I walked out as quietly as she'd walked away from me, long before I ever realized she had. I rented a small apartment across town in Portland, Oregon. Nothing special, thin walls, an older building, a view of a parking lot, but it was mine. And for the first time in years, I felt the air around me belonged to me. I changed my number. I blocked her everywhere. There were no dramatic goodbyes, no final conversations. Just silence, the kind that follows something that's already been dead longer than you're willing to admit. The first few months were rough. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. Betrayal doesn't burn hot like people imagine. It burns slow, steady, like a coal you carry long after the fire is gone. I rebuilt myself one small routine at a time. Morning runs, new recipes, books I'd bought but never read. Quiet evenings that didn't feel like punishment anymore. A year passed, not quickly, slowly, like time was being stretched thin. But it passed. I healed in ways I didn't expect. Learned things about myself I'd forgotten. I didn't date. I didn't look for anyone. I wasn't afraid of love. I just wasn't chasing anything anymore. Peace felt better than excitement. Then one rainy Thursday night there was a knock at my door. A soft, hesitant knock, the kind people make when they're not sure they're welcome. When I opened it, Emily stood there. Her hair was soaked. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes, God, her eyes, looked like someone who had been carrying a year's worth of regret. The moment she saw me, her voice broke, not cracked, broke. "Connor, please, please don't close the door. I'm so sorry." She burst into tears before I could even speak. And for the first time since I left her, the quiet inside me shifted. I didn't move immediately. I just stood there, the rain dripping off Emily's hair and clothes, and watched her crumble. The woman I had loved, the woman who had broken my trust without a word of confrontation, was now trembling at my doorstep like a child seeking shelter. A part of me wanted to slam the door, walk away, let her face the consequences of her choices. But another part, the part that had never truly stopped caring, held still, curious about what she'd become over this long, silent year. Con, please, I made a mistake, she whispered between sobs. Her voice was raw, ragged, almost unrecognizable. I realized what I lost. I held up a hand, not in anger, but to pause the torrent. I wanted to understand, but I didn't want to get swept back into the chaos she had left behind. Emily, I said, my voice calm but firm, this isn't about what you realized. It's about what you did. You left quietly without explanation. You chose someone else over me. Her sobs quieted for a moment, replaced with a look I didn't recognize, desperation. I know, Connor. I know I hurt you. Every single day since I've been regretting it. I can't stop thinking about how I threw us away. I studied her face. The lines of regret, the damp hair plastered to her forehead, the way her hands clutched themselves in panic. She was real, undeniably vulnerable. But that didn't erase the pain she had caused, the quiet months I spent rebuilding myself while she lived her life elsewhere, untethered by consequences. A year changes people. I was no longer the same Connor she remembered, the man who would have begged, pleaded, maybe even taken her back. This Connor had learned the power of silence, the strength of boundaries. I was calmer now but more resolute. Look, I said finally. I can't just let you back in like nothing happened. Not after the betrayal. Not after the year I spent trying to heal. Do you understand that? She nodded, tears still falling freely. Yes. Yes, I understand. But I don't care how long it takes. I need to try. I need to make this right. You deserve the truth. All of it. I let her speak. But I didn't rush to forgive. I had learned that forgiveness isn't a gift you give someone else. It's something you choose for yourself when you're ready. And I wasn't ready yet. Emily took a deep breath and told me everything. How she met him at a conference, how it started as harmless flirtation, how she convinced herself it meant nothing, how over time she lost sight of us, lost sight of me. And then the guilt, the loneliness, the realization that the person she truly loved had never left, even when she did. Her story was full of remorse, but it was also full of excuses. I listened, absorbing the words without responding. Every sentence reminded me of the emptiness I had felt when I left, the nights I cried into my pillow, the quiet apartment that became my sanctuary. Then she paused, looking at me with pleading eyes. I've changed, Con. I've grown. I can't ask you to trust me again, but I want to try. I want to show you. You're the only one who ever mattered. I studied her for a long moment. Her honesty was undeniable. Her vulnerability real. But the trust once shattered is like glass. You can glue it back together, but the cracks remain. And in those cracks you see everything that went wrong. Finally I spoke. Emily, I don't hate you. I don't even feel anger anymore. I feel cautious. I feel protective of the peace I've built. If you want back in my life, it won't be the same as before. I've changed. You've changed. And maybe that's the only way this can ever work, if it's different. She nodded, understanding. And just like that, the tears slowed. She didn't try to kiss me. Didn't beg. She just stood there, vulnerable and honest, willing to accept whatever I decided. I realized something important in that moment. Leaving her quietly had been the hardest yet most powerful choice I ever made. It gave me clarity. It gave me perspective. And it gave her a chance, if she deserved it, to face the consequences of her actions. We didn't talk about what would happen next. There were no promises, no declarations of renewed commitment. We simply acknowledged the past. And for the first time in a long while, I felt in control of my own life again. I had chosen my peace over pain. I had chosen myself. As Emily finally left that night, she didn't walk away quietly this time. She left with tears, yes, but also with a glimmer of hope. A hope that maybe in time she could earn back a fragment of the trust she had lost. I closed the door and leaned against it. Silence settled around me, but it didn't feel heavy anymore. Felt clean, sharp, even a quiet kind of victory. Not over her, but over the part of myself that had tolerated being unseen, unloved, and unvalued. Sometimes the loudest statements in life aren't made with words or actions. They're made in silence, in the decision to walk away, in the strength to stand firm and rebuild. That night, in that quiet apartment, I understood something fundamental. Love can return, but only when respect and honesty are real. And I would never compromise that again.